It's been about 2 weeks since I've actually been able to do anything on the 2.5 RS because we've been stacked with customer cars. Now that doesn't mean I haven't been working on the car in the background and filming it. So this video is going to be everything that I've done in the past 2 weeks, plus some more stuff that we're doing today. So if it seems a little out of order and a little bit weird, I do apologize. I'll try to voice over the best I can to make some type of sense, but it's gonna be a little bit of a weird one. We've done a lot of body work, we've done some stuff to the car, we have some more stuff we gotta do to the car, so let's recap everything we've done, get back to this point, and then go forward. I figured we would jump on some bodywork to start things off. The hood was an easy enough one to start with, but little did I know how much damage was actually on this hood. So I knocked everything down with a DA first, just to kind of rough up the paint to see where we were, and then I found so many dents on this hood. I'm pretty sure it's been through a couple hailstorms, so every time I'd find a dent, I'd circle it in Sharpie, fill it up with glazing putty. I debated using a PDR guy, but it was just way too expensive to bring a PDR guy out to do this hood versus just using some glazing putty and getting it nice and smooth. So every single time I find a new dent, fill it, block it down, and get it prepped. If we can knock out as much body work now and kind of sprinkle it through versus doing it all at once, I think that's really going to help mentally try to get through the bodywork portion of this, because I just do not like bodywork that much. I have what I believe to be the hood done. At least this side of it. I still flip it over and scuff up the other side before primer, but this is the side that obviously you're gonna see on the outside of the car. I have fixed so many freaking dents on this thing, dude. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, as well as some other miscellaneous little issues with this, but 16 dents, all filled, all sanded smooth. I have found the best way to do this is start with a block. Once you get it smooth with the block, you can jump to the DA just to clean it up a little bit. So this is scuffed up to 220 right now, which will be fine for primer. The hood scoop was a pretty easy one. It was just a lot of hand sanding, but this is ready for primer as well with the hood, so we can get both of these knocked out. Cannot primer any of this till we get our other heater in, but if I can get all of this prepped and ready, that means once the heater's installed, we can literally just jump to primering all of our parts, getting them painted, and then getting them back on the car so that way they're not sitting around anymore. Things like the hood, the doors technically can't go on yet till we paint the chassis, but that's gonna have to wait till the wide body comes in. So I'm gonna set this aside and we need to jump to that. The doors are gonna suck a lot. Somebody prior to me had put in all of this old sound deadening, and getting that crap off is such a pain because it leaves behind a residue like this that you have to wire wheel off. So this is gonna suck. I need to take photos of this, disassemble this side, get everything put in a box labeled as driver's door, and then from there we can, I don't know if I'm gonna start removing this stuff or if I'm gonna jump to the other side of the door and start getting that prepped, because there are body moldings in this and I think they have holes in the door for it. If it does, I need to weld those shut and then do body work to smooth it all out. Whoever had this car before the prior owner is a real douche, because they slathered this door inside and out with this sound deadening stuff, and my lord, was it a nightmare to take off. This took me about 4 hours to get all of this stuff off. I tried a heat gun, I couldn't get any dry ice, and to be honest, I don't think dry ice would even work on this because it does have that aluminum backing on it. I don't think it would chip away like normal sound deadening would. So the only thing we could do really is just sit here, wire a wheel, scrape it off, and you know, it was just a nightmare. But at the end of the day, we have to get all of this stuff off to be able to even put primer on this door to get this thing prepped for paint. Guys at Perrin sent over one of their oil cooler cores for the 22B, and I was waiting on an isolator stud bushing set to come in for how I'm going to mount this, which is one of these guys. These absorb a handful of vibrations from the car, so it's not gonna be transferred directly into the oil cooler. Now, is it gonna be bad if I hard mounted the oil cooler? Absolutely not. It would be fine, but that's a GD oil cooler and it doesn't necessarily fit in the GM6 perfectly, so that's why I needed that. So let me get you guys set up. Let me figure out how I'm going to install this oil cooler, because like I said, it doesn't fit perfect, but we can make it fit with no issue. I do have the oil cooler mounted up here. I may need to push this back a little bit. I do have some pretty good clearance behind the oil cooler to the radiator. So if I add a small spacer in between the nut and bolt on the top, I can push that back. Down here, I can loosen up these brackets and slide this back also. But that's pretty sweet. That's a GD oil cooler. I had to compensate the difference, which is about that much. So I used a rubber isolator to be able to take up the slack. So it does have a little bit of movement, but that rubber isolator should absorb most of the vibration from the engine, so it's not going into the oil cooler. Plenty of space for the fittings to come back and feed through between the radiator and the frame there. We need the oil cooler because that is what's going to break up a lot of the frothing from the dry sump. So that is critical. If I can't get the front mount to fit properly, I may have to go to a thinner core, but for right now, I think this will work. It should work. I think that'll work just fine. I haven't gotten to touch old baby blue here in like 2.5 weeks because we have been slammed with customer cars, but that's all right because that helps fund the builds. It helps me pay down some debt, which is primarily what I'm trying to do right now. But I have a lapse. I have a lapse where I can actually focus on the cars again. So over the past 2.5 weeks, I've ordered some stuff has showed up, other stuff not so much. But the primary focus for today is, I almost said bodywork. I've been doing bodywork in the background. I've got the hood back there that I've got ready for primer. I've got the hood scoop ready for primer. I was gonna use the trunk, but I think I'm gonna get a carbon trunk and then paint that. I got the doors I gotta prep. So we're gonna be doing some painting here soon. I just don't wanna do it quite yet. So today, we're gonna focus on the fuel system a little bit more. Now, last time we worked on this car, we installed a Radium dual hanger with twin wall bureau 450s. We got all that wired up, good to go. I want to focus a little bit more on the fuel system today. We have a Radium fuel filter mount, Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator we need to find a home for. We're gonna do a little bit of suspension stuff. I got these More Sport rear trailing arms I got these for 200 bucks, dude. Brand new More Sport rear trailing arms. So we're gonna get those on the back. We have a set of Cartboy rear end links we're gonna be tossing on, and a Cusco X brace that's gonna be going in the car as well. And then we'll get some more stuff. We did get the first portion of our turbo, which is this beefy looking boy right here. Now I am excited because we have been talking to Borg Warner, and we're gonna be working with Borg Warner on this car. And we're gonna be using a Borg Warner turbo, one of their new SXR turbos. I'm very excited. I'm excited to also try something other than Precision and all these other Precision and Garrett is primarily what we see on Subarus, and I'm excited to venture out into some new Borg Warner stuff for the Subaru, so I'm hyped. The guys at Perrin did send down one of their Perrin rotated kits for us. I don't know if we're gonna be using it, but we do have that as an option if we do opt to use that. So let's start out with the rear trailing arms and the rear end links to get those on, because I'm actually really excited to see how these things look on the car. We have this guy. It's gonna go in right here. Right there. It's actually good that it's a really tight fit like that. That's what we want. Nut goes on bolt. I'm gonna leave this kind of loosely fitted for the time being. But look at that, man. These look good. Those look real good. That guy's gonna sneak up on. There we go. Just like that. We just gotta put a nut right there. Dude, these More Sport arms, they look real good, especially for 200 bucks. These More Sport arms look good. So we have pretty much our entire rear suspension all taken care of with the exception of our end links, which I don't know if I want to put those in quite yet. We'll come back to that. We have adjustable white line control arms here, adjustable More Sport control arm here. Obviously the coilover is adjustable. So everything on the rear suspension of the Subaru at this point is adjustable. I'm actually really happy with these arms. I don't think they're worth the $800 MSRP that More Sport puts on them. If you do happen to stumble across these on sale or on a discount, I would highly suggest them. Like I said, I got these things for like 200 bucks. Definitely keep an eye out if you can find a set on sale, but $800, definitely not justifiable. You guys might remember prior, we had an issue with the shift linkage hitting the top of the transmission tunnel. So I decided to jump back to this and kind of self-clearance it a little bit with a BFH and an extension to get more clearance. I don't know why. Some people said they've had this issue. Other people said they haven't had this issue. I found it doesn't really matter what orientation you have the Torque Solutions U-joint in this. No matter what, it is going to hit in about the same way. It just kind of moves it over left or right a little bit. So, you know, a little bit of clearancing never hurt anyone. Shouldn't have any more rubbing issues. Beautiful. Before we were rubbing our U-joint on the frame itself, so I had to do, as you guys saw, a lot of self-clearancing to make that work. But it works. Perfect. So now that we are all caught up, I want to jump back into the engine bay and get our fuel pressure regulator installed. I actually think I have a spare fuel pressure sensor we can put in this because it is going to be a digital fuel pressure sensor because I would like the ECU to be able to see fuel pressure. So in the event of any type of failure or something going wrong, the ECU knows, and it looks like I do. I have a baggie of sensors here, and I'm sure there's a pressure sensor in here somewhere. There is, I can see one right there, autometer. I don't know if I trust autometer. What is this, AEM sensor? What is that, 0 to 150 PSI? Is that a map sensor, or is that a pressure sensor? Not all pressure sensors are the same, believe it or not. If not, I actually have one in the 17 STI we can go kidnap out of the fuel pressure regulator that's sitting in that car. It pays to keep random sensors laying around because I actually have an old, it's a brand new, it's never been used, old school Cobb fuel pressure sensor, which the sensor itself is fine. It's got the scaling on the side of it, so we know what to scale it to, so that'll work perfect. Bro, they like really put this shit on. Okay, let's see if I can monkey this thing down. There we go. Fuel pressure regulator with our sensor in there, that'll work perfect. Like I said, digital fuel pressure, if we can have it, that would be ideal, so that way the ECU can accurately see fuel pressure, because if there is, since we are using a Haltech, we can utilize these types of sensors a lot better to control things for fail-safe. So if it sees a drop in fuel pressure, it can pull timing, or it can put the engine in essentially limp mode or whatever it needs to do to be able to compensate. So let's actually go find a home for this. I already know where this is going to be going. Over the past day or so, I've been kind of mapping out where everything in the engine bay is going to live. So we already have a home for this. I've got this 6AN fitting on the bottom of this to just kind of mock up like where I can put this, how high, how low. I have swivel fittings coming for the others, and I think right there is honestly gonna be like a pretty sweet spot, because I can angle the AN fitting to have it go down that way. Touch-up pen, we can add our little bit of clear coat. The rib nut. Last thing you want to do is pull threads with a rib nut. Trust me, it sucks. I've done it. You know, here's the thing that bothers me, is I went by the level, and this is technically speaking perfectly level, but it doesn't look level. Does that make sense? Like, it's level, it's perfectly level, but it doesn't, I guess it does look level. Maybe I'm just crazy. I think it's just the contour of the engine bay. It just doesn't look level. Like I said, there's gonna be a lot of jumping around in this video. So with the fuel pressure regulator in, next thing I wanna jump to is ball joints. I have a Super Pro kit here. Our 05 STI steering rack shows up tomorrow, and I wanna get that in the car, obviously with the ball joints and everything else, so that way I try to get as many parts off the back rack as I can, and we can get this one off of there. So I do have some brand new hardware also. Since we have all new knuckles, all new everything, I'm assuming these are gonna go in relatively easily, but you know, there's always the possibility it doesn't. So I'm just gonna grease these up, stick them in there. I believe they're just gonna go right in, thread in the new bolt, and tomorrow when the steering rack shows up, we can get the tie rod ends on, and then we should have complete suspension, actually, because we have those more sport rear arms on there. The only thing that we're missing is an axle and a drive shaft, and I still have to buy those, but that's whatever, you know, that's only like $2,000. And I guess I'm just kind of hoping here that this just kind of goes in. If I can, please sir, let me put in my ball joint. Oh, of course you're not. I'm gonna need a rubber mallet to tap that thing in. Oh wait, no. Oh, look at that, dude. That's what's up. Is that not the easiest ball joint job you've ever seen? I'm not gonna put this on all the way yet because quite obviously it's going to have to come back off, but this will at least keep the lower control arm and the spindle and everything together. Like that. So that way it actually has a pivot point and can sit where it needs to. That's freaking sweet, man. I don't think I've ever had a ball joint go in so easily. You know, for all my northern friends, how's it feel to see a ball joint just go right in like that? Dude. Technically, if I had wheels on this, I could put this on the ground. Oh my God, dude, it's so close to being able to go on the ground. Oh my God, dude, this arm does not move. Maybe if I take off the sway bar. Oh yeah, dude, that sway bar holds on for dear life. I could probably get it up a little bit more to put the ball joint up more, but Jesus, yeah, we got a swivel point. No more floppy knuckles. I could probably hook up the brake line. Do I want to hook up the brake line? Should I hook up the brake line? Is it time to hook up the brake line? I don't know. It is the next day. We got some more parts in. I've been waiting for this for a little while. We got in our 05 STI steering rack. Now, if you remember, I tried to put in a 2021 STI rack and didn't fit. It hit the portion of the subframe up here where the lower control arm bolts to, and that's purely just based off of where the lines come out of the steering rack. So this one should fit. I also got the steering linkage, the STI one. I've heard that this is not going to fit on the RS steering column, so we might need to do something about that. I think somebody makes an adapter, I don't know. As well as some solid bushings for the steering rack. So this hopefully should be pretty self-explanatory to go in. It's a steering rack. It should just be a couple bolts. Should go right in with no issues. Now we can install the power steering rack into the Subaru. I opted to time lapse through this. I have about 40 minutes of me trying to install this rack outside of time lapse, and I will say I have not gotten more angry at a car part in years. That was probably the most angry I have ever gotten at a car part in years. I am going to be completely honest with you guys. I would not recommend a more sport front subframe to quite literally anybody. If you cannot make a part that accepts a drop-in steering rack, do not make the part. I've tried 3 steering racks on this. I finally just made this one work, which I might have to take it back out. We'll see. Real pain, not a fan. I had to goose fob on my way back from the edge on this one. So steering rack is in. It fits with a lot of force. See, the problem with the 15 plus rack I had was the lines would hit right here. Whatever, no big deal. The 15 plus rack isn't even technically for this car. The subframe is for an STI, a GD STI, okay? Keep that in mind. This is 100% for a GD STI. This is an 05 STI steering rack. The lines don't fit. I had to finoodle and bend that. There is a small kink in it right there, which I hope it doesn't leak. It might leak out of the fitting there. Who knows? If I have to do a custom line from here going to the back of the rack, I will, but my God, if you're gonna make a part that's supposed to be a drop-in part, make it fit with the OEM components. It's incredibly frustrating when you market a product in a $3,000 subframe, might I add. That is not a small amount of money by any means. When you have a very expensive subframe that doesn't even fit with the OEM components, you gotta go back to the drawing board. You gotta figure something else out, because quite clearly, it doesn't even fit with the OEM rack. It's supposed to. It's supposed to fit with a 47 and 48 millimeter rack. That's a 48 millimeter rack. It should fit no problem. I'm on the edge. I need to goose for on my way back, all right? That's where we're ending. I might have to take that subframe back out, or that steering rack back out. We'll see. If I have to do a custom line for it, I'll do a custom line for it. The freaking fitting on the steering rack too was stripped out from Subaru, so that's awesome. So I have to retap that. It's not worth sending it back and getting another subframe. You know, I'm salty right now. With that is literally all I've got for you guys on this one. We still made massive progress. This is technically a rolling shell at this point. I did order wheels for the Subaru. I need tires obviously, but once we have wheels and tires, we can quite literally push this thing around. We can get it off the rack, which will be sweet. So with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you liked the video, if you're hyped for the 22B and you're hyped to see some more action going on this thing, go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver sign, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, put in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.